In the summer of 2022, the Australian Antarctic Division's research icebreaker RV Investigator completed an underwater exploration campaign in the Ross Sea off the Antarctic coast. It deployed a next-generation autonomous underwater vehicle equipped with high-frequency sonar, dark vision cameras, and geochemical sensors designed to map the seabed beneath the floating ice sheet of the Antarctic continent. The results of that campaign, partially published in the journal Nature Geoscience in January 2023 and presented in greater detail at the Scientific Committee on Antarctic Research's annual symposium in Sofia in June of the same year, described the discovery of an underwater ecosystem of a complexity and extent that the team's scientists described as completely unexpected given what was known about living conditions under the Antarctic ice sheets. But it was an additional piece of data from the campaign, which the researchers included almost marginally in the full report submitted to the scientific committee, that genuinely left the specialists who reviewed it speechless. The autonomous vehicle had recorded under the ice a low-frequency, periodic acoustic signal of unnatural origin, which did not correspond to any known sound source in that environment. Like, subscribe, and share. Let's begin. Antarctica is the least known continent on Earth, not only on its surface but especially on its seabed. The waters surrounding the Antarctic continent, collectively known as the Southern Ocean, are one of the most important ocean systems on the planet from a climatic perspective. Southern ocean currents distribute heat and nutrients throughout the world's oceans, and the Antarctic bottom waters, formed by the cooling and sinking of surface water near the continent, are the main driver of the global thermohaline circulation that regulates the planet's climate. Despite this fundamental importance, the Southern Ocean floor is remarkably poorly understood. The permanent presence of sea ice and the enormous floating ice sheets that cover large areas of the sea adjacent to the continent make direct exploration of the seabed in these areas technically extremely difficult. Only in recent years, with the development of autonomous underwater vehicles capable of navigating under the ice without the need for continuous communication with the surface, has it become possible to systematically explore these regions. The Ross Sea ice sheet, known as the Ross Ice Shelf, is the largest floating ice mass on the planet, covering more than 500,000 square kilometers and ranging in thickness from 200 to 700 meters. Beneath this ice shelf, in the seawater cavity between the base of the ice and the ocean floor, exist conditions of absolute temperature, salinity, and darkness that scientists had assumed for decades were too extreme to support complex ecosystems. That assumption began to change in 2021 when a British Antarctic survey expedition drilled a hole through the ice of the Filchner-Ronne ice shelf, another large Antarctic ice shelf, and lowered a camera that found sessile multicellular organisms attached to the rocks of the seabed at a depth of 900 meters and 260 kilometers from the edge of the ice in complete darkness and with water temperatures below freezing. That discovery transformed scientists' expectations about what might be found beneath the Ross Ice Shelf. The autonomous underwater vehicle deployed by the RV Investigator in the summer of 2022 was the RAN, a long-range AUV developed by the University of Gothenburg in collaboration with the Swedish Navy. It is capable of operating for up to 3 days without any surface contact and navigating under the ice along pre-programmed trajectories with a positioning accuracy of less than 10 meters. Despite the impossibility of using GPS signals underwater and through the ice, the RAN had previously been deployed on several expeditions to Antarctic and Arctic waters, and its track record of successful operations under the ice made it the platform of choice for exploring the cavity beneath the Ross Ice Shelf. During the 2022 campaign, the RAN made 6 dives under the ice, covering a total of more than 3,000 kilometers of exploration trajectories at depths of between 400 and 1,200 meters below the sea surface. The sonar data and camera images obtained by the RAN revealed an ecosystem beneath the ice shelf of completely unexpected richness and diversity. Sponges up to 1 meter in diameter, bryozoan colonies, communities of polychaetes and crustaceans, and various types of fish adapted to darkness and extreme cold populated the seabed under the ice at distances of up to 200 kilometers from the edge of the shelf. The energy source that sustained this ecosystem in the total absence of sunlight was one of the questions researchers were trying to answer, and geochemical analyses of water samples collected by the RAN suggested that currents circulating under the ice carried organic particles from the more productive waters at the edge of the shelf, functioning as a food distribution system that reached even the most remote areas under the ice. But the acoustic signal was a completely different matter. Like, subscribe, and share. The acoustic signal recorded by the RAN's hydrophones during the fifth dive of the campaign was low frequency, in the 10 to 40 Hz range, with a periodicity of approximately 90 seconds between successive pulses. Low-frequency signals are characteristic of several natural processes in the Antarctic environment. Ice movement and fracturing produce low-frequency acoustic signals that marine seismologists call ice tremor, and low-magnitude underwater earthquakes on the active tectonic margin of the Ross Sea produce similar signals. However, the signal recorded by the RAN had a temporal regularity that did not correspond to either of these natural processes. Both ice tremor and earthquakes produce irregularly occurring signals, whereas the recorded signal arrived with an accuracy of plus or minus 2 seconds in its 90-second periodicity throughout the entire recording period, which lasted more than 6 hours. The team's acoustic oceanographers, who specialize in studying sound signals from the Southern Ocean, reviewed the RAN signal by comparing it to the global database of ocean sounds maintained by the CTBTO hydrophone system. The CTBTO, the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, operates a global network of underwater hydrophones originally designed to detect underwater nuclear detonations and continuously collects all acoustic signals from the world's oceans in the relevant frequency range. A search of this database found no signal with the same spectral and temporal characteristics as the one recorded by the RAN in the Ross Sea. This meant that either the signal was unique and localized, generated by some process confined to the cavity beneath the ice shelf, or it had been missed in the CTBTO data because it was masked by the background noise of the Antarctic ice. The hypotheses generated by the team to explain the signal included very specific geological processes in the environment. One of the most discussed was the possibility that the signal was produced by the oscillatory motion of a pocket of water trapped in some geological structure on the seabed, a phenomenon known as harmonic tremor that has been documented in some submarine volcanoes when magma forces water through narrow conduits, producing periodic acoustic signals. The Ross Sea has volcanic activity on its western margin, where Mount Erebus on Ross Island is one of the few volcanoes in the world with a permanent lava lake. However, the distance between Mount Erebus and the point where the RAN recorded the signal was more than 400 kilometers, and the team's geophysicists considered it unlikely that a signal of that periodicity could be transmitted without distortion over that distance. The second hypothesis that generated the most debate was the possibility that the signal was of biological origin, produced by an animal species in the Southern Ocean with undocumented vocal behavior. Blue whales, fin whales, and humpback whales produce low-frequency acoustic signals that are perfectly detectable thousands of kilometers away, and the Southern Ocean is the primary feeding ground for these species during the austral summer. However, whale communication signals have well-documented spectral and temporal characteristics that differ from the RAN signal. The metronomic regularity of 90 seconds in the signal recorded by the autonomous vehicle does not correspond to any known vocal pattern of any cetacean or any other known marine organism. The RAN signal remains definitively unexplained. The follow-up expedition to the Ross Sea, planned for the austral summer of 2024, had among its priority objectives the search for this signal using an array of hydrophones capable of triangulating its position with sufficient precision to guide a direct visual exploration of the area. What the autonomous vehicle recorded beneath the Antarctic ice is objective physical data, measured with calibrated instruments, that does not correspond to any known category of natural acoustic signals in the Southern Ocean. Antarctica, the most isolated and least explored continent on Earth, guards its secrets with the same efficiency with which the ice covering it guards the cold, absolutely and uncompromisingly. The importance of the Southern Ocean to the global climate system means that any unknown phenomenon occurring in its waters has implications that extend far beyond scientific curiosity. The Southern Ocean absorbs approximately 40% of the carbon dioxide that humans emit into the atmosphere each year, and its waters are one of the Earth's major heat sinks, absorbing more than 90% of the excess heat generated by climate change. Any unknown geological, biological, or physical process occurring in these waters that affects the circulation, chemistry, or biology of the Southern Ocean has the potential to influence the global climate system in ways that current models cannot predict because they do not include that process. The periodic acoustic signal recorded by the RAN beneath the Ross ice shelf is puzzling not only because it lacks an explanation, but also because its existence suggests that something is happening in one of the planet's most important natural systems that science has yet to describe. The international Antarctic research program surrounding these findings falls under the framework of the 1959 Antarctic Treaty, which establishes Antarctica as a demilitarized zone dedicated exclusively to peaceful scientific research and has been signed by 54 countries. Scientific research in Antarctica is coordinated by the Scientific Committee on Antarctic Research, SCAR, which brings together the national Antarctic research programs of 44 member countries and facilitates international collaboration on projects that no single country could undertake independently. The 2022 RV Investigator Expedition was funded by the Australian government through the Australian Antarctic Program and involved researchers from Australia, Sweden, Germany, and the United Kingdom. The data obtained, including recordings of the mysterious acoustic signal, have been shared with all national Antarctic research programs so that specialists from each country can contribute to its analysis. This scientific openness is one of the most positive aspects of the International Antarctic Research System, although it also means that the mystery of the RAN signal is now known to hundreds of scientists around the world who, to date, have not found any explanation that they all consider satisfactory. Like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.